Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay. Kicking it with Kay and Clay.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in once again for Kicking It with Kay and Clay. I am your host, Kay Marie, and thank you so much for joining us, whether you're listening to us on audio or you're watching us. We are glad that you stopped by and turned us on, okay? So today we have a guest. He is no stranger to the show. We had him here a while back talking about getting your CPLs. So welcome back to the show, Tquan Parks of Parks Defensive Strategies. Hey, Tquan, how are you?
How you doing? Thank you for having me once again.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So today we're going to be talking about how to interact with the police when you have a CPL. Because I remember after the first show, you said you really wanted to talk about this. And I thought that was a good idea because, we don't want people to unfortunately end up like so many people have, especially Philando Castile.
Yep, absolutely.
And, because he was a CPL holder, he told them, he notified them that he had one, and yet he still ended up, dead. And we just want to bring awareness to this, and from a police officer standpoint, how to interact with the police. So let's get started.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I would touch on, and it goes, is paramount. We see a lot of times. I watch a lot of follow up and supplemental videos for my business so that I know what to teach my people. I know I have a diverse clientele, so I know a traffic stop in Detroit is different than a traffic stop in Livonia versus Clinton Township versus River Rouge. So I try to stay abreast of not only the laws, but just the way that people that are carrying interact with law enforcement. The most important thing I could tell people is that nothing good can come from two armed individuals having a dispute on the side of a road. Now, there's a saying, two things that don't live long: dogs that chase cars and people that fight the police. Understand that now, being a CPL holder, being a black man, and working for the Detroit Police Department, that does not exempt me. I get pulled over. I was pulled over about a month and a half ago on Grossbeck by Fraser Police. I knew I was speeding. I mean, it was nothing. He pulled me over. I drive a vehicle with tinted windows. It was nighttime. So the first thing that I did, I rolled all my windows down. I turned on my interior dome light, and I placed my hands on top of the steering wheel at 10 and 2.
Okay.
I teach all of my customers that the first interaction that you should have when you're armed and law enforcement stops you and approaches you, whether it's not if you rolled through that light when it was yellow versus red. It's not if you came to a complete stop at the stop sign. It's not if you were doing 2 miles over. First verbal interaction that you have is, I have a CPL, I have my firearm on me.
Okay.
Now, failing to start the conversation with that automatically is a $500 ticket for failure to notify. $500. Now, I don't know about any of your listeners or watchers, but I could think of 500 other things to do than to give it to a municipality because I tell them that.
Right.
Once you tell them that traffic stop is going to go 10 times better, because they know in order for you to be a valid CPL holder, you've already been vetted by Michigan State Police.
Right.
The individuals who are wreaking havoc, as I like to call them, urban terrorists, they don't possess CPLs. So by telling them that, you start that off and you let that officer dictate how he wants to go from that point in that traffic stop.
So where did Philando go wrong?
Philando went wrong simply by being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the right scary cop.
Mm.
I reviewed that video. And when I tell you, I'm not exaggerating, no less than 50 to 60 times. I studied that. The reason I studied that is because I don't want to be the next Philando Castile. I don't want one of my customers, my cousins, my brother, my nephew to be Philando Castile, my daughter
Yeah.
to be Philando Castile. There's a certain mindset. Some people were meant to be the police, and some people were meant to call the police.
Mm.
Anytime he was pulled over, officer approached the vehicle. He told the officer, "I have a CPL. I have my firearm on me." Officer says, "Where's your firearm?" He says, "On my right hip."
Mm-hmm.
Officer says, "Okay, you got some ID on you?" He says, "Yes." "Can I get my wallet out my pocket?" The officer says, "Yes." He reaches for his pocket with his left shoulder bladed. The officer fires and pumps 4 rounds into him. So anything short of not stopping at all and tossing the gun out while he's driving and then rolling out himself and laying on the pavement, he did everything correct.
Mm-hmm.
He did absolutely everything correct. He didn't argue with the officer. He wasn't debating with the officer. He was complying.
Yeah, he
Now,
was.
what I tell people, and I'm different, I'm left-handed. So if you can just put yourself in your driver's seat, your left-hand side is up against the door when you're driving. Your left hip is up. So you got a seatbelt on. You may have a shirt on, your gun, left hip. My gun always stays in my cup holder.
Okay. Where it's
Because
seen.
in the event that I need to access it, I don't have time to move a seatbelt, a shirt, pull it, I just don't have that time.
Okay.
So I'll never forget. I got pulled over by Detroit, Illinois, and Cortland. This is probably about 15 years ago. Officer pulls up. I have a CPL, have my firearm on me. He says, "Where is it?" I said, "It's on my left hip." He said, "You mind taking it off and giving it to me till we conclude the traffic stop?" I said, "No, I'd feel more comfortable if you took it off me."
Mm.
So what I did was I kept my hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. I had him open up the door. Prior to him reaching my vehicle, I had already taken the seatbelt off. That's rule number one. Take that seatbelt off if you're being pulled over. Once you pull over your passenger wheel to the curb, take your seatbelt off because you may have to maneuver.
Okay.
I'm even different now. I live in Clinton Township, and I find myself now not even driving with my wallet in my pocket. I keep my wallet on the passenger seat. So in the event that I have to access it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go digging, moving.
So don't give them no excuse to. Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to say I made a fervent motion or anything like that, which caused him to be aggressive. Okay, I even went a step further than that. I have my own dash cam in my car mounted on my window.
What? Wait a minute. Do you get a dash cam because you're a police officer, or anybody can
No,
get one?
anyone can travel with a dash cam.
Hmm.
My son bought it for me for Father's Day, I think last year off Amazon. 40, $50. It has a little SD card in there that goes in there. It where your rear view mirror is, it's a suction cup. It mounts right behind that and it faces forward with audio.
Mm. Okay.
So when I was pulled over by Frazier, I flipped the camera around. It's on the swivel. So he's recording, I'm recording.
I
Now,
like that.
once they approach the vehicle, this particular traffic stop 15 years ago, he opened up the door. I slid my body and showed him exactly where it was. He removed it. Some officers where they're going to unload the firearm, some will take the slide off, disconnect the slide and break it apart, or take it apart rather. They'll take the gun back to their vehicle. They have that right on a traffic stop. You have to give them your driver's license, proof of insurance, registration, your CPL, and if they want to run the firearm, they can do that. The conclusion of the stop, most officers I know will tell you to pop the trunk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They'll put the firearm in the trunk, or they'll put it on the back seat, unload it and tell you, or lay it on, sit it on top of the car, unload it with the slide rack back and the magazine, and they'll tell you, do not load this firearm until I leave. That's their right. What a lot of people don't know is that when you have a CPL, you automatically consent to a search if the officer suspects you of having any bodily alcohol content or controlled substance.
Okay.
To go a little deeper, when you go to Secretary of State, you get your license. They make you sign that little black signature pad, right?
Right.
Most of us assume, majority of us assume that that's only to put our signature on our driver's license.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's
not
what that's for. What you're doing is you're secretly signing a consent. So say, for instance, you're Jane Doe, no CPL. Officer pulls you over. Because you have signed and placed your signature on that driver's license, you're giving him implied consent for you to submit to a chemical test of your breath, blood, or urine.
Shut up.
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. Refusal. If you refuse, it's automatically a suspension of your license for a year.
So you have no choice.
No, that's what people think. Oh, I do have a choice. No,
okay.
You don't, because once you say no, I'm not doing it. I don't care if you suspend my license. Then he's gonna get on the phone and call the 24-hour magistrate and get a search warrant for your breath, blood, or urine. They're gonna take you to the hospital, strap you down, and draw your blood. So either way, they're gonna get what they're gonna get. You're just gonna lose privileges.
Okay. Wow.
So with a CPL, it's the same exact process. Cooperate, even if the officer that I had out here in Fraser, very professional. Cool. I mean, he walked up, I had a CPL. I have multiple firearms. This particular night, I had a lot of guns in the car. I said, I have multiple firearms. He's like, okay, well, what do you have? So I got a 9mm in the cup holder, I had a 38 in my back pocket, an AR-15 pistol in the back seat. He looked. He said, I give him all my information. He looks at he's like, you work for Detroit? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, have a good day.
So you got that privilege.
No, but guess what? Guess what? There have been 2 or 3 of my customers who have called me and told me they were pulled over and they did exactly what I told them to do. And the officer asked them, well, why did you stick your hands through the sunroof? He said, because my CPL instructor told me to make the officer feel as comfortable as possible. One of them was in a Challenger. He was doing at least 20 over, didn't get a ticket because that officer was made to feel at ease.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it's not what happens at the moment, is how we react to it. Now, with that said, you have some scary officers who are better served working at Lowe's in the paint department.
Right. It seemed like it's a lot of them.
And it is more and more. And I'm going to tell you why I believe it is. Because the climate that we're in is a law and order. We keep hearing that over and over again.
Yeah.
Law and order, law and order, law and order. Well, a lot of them, they've never had any type of interaction with African Americans in the urban community until they come on the job. So this job gives them a badge. They get to walk around with a gun. It's that sense of you do what I say right now. It's a power trip. But the incidents that I've seen of individuals with CPLs or completely unarmed and that have become a victim or lost their life, the individual who perpetrated it in a badge and a uniform never should have been law enforcement to begin with.
So, I mean, how do they stop that, though? I mean, I know you've been hearing, it's been tossed around like, well, I know you all take like psychological tests, but I had somebody on recently who I know because she was a police officer in Phoenix, and she was at one point because she was in the army. She was a JAG, so she's been on both sides, and she said a lot of them they lie.
Let me tell you something about that psychological exam. When I moved to New Orleans, I applied to their police department, and I had to take this psychological evaluation. It was like 6 hours. And it was literally like 700 questions, and they were just repetitive over and over again. From there, the lady comes in, talks to you. Oh, so this happened in your childhood or your past. How did you deal with it? How are you doing now? Da, da. And then you go talk to a clinical psychologist. They review everything. My clinical evaluation with the psychologist was literally 10 minutes at best, and that included signing in and walking back there.
Wow. That's scary.
So a psych eval is like a mathematical equation. Depending on what formula I put to it, I can make the numbers say whatever I want.
Right.
Then they get out here and they don't know. Now, I can only speak for the people I work with in Detroit. DPD has the best officers in the state of Michigan, if not the country. You have not seen any of the nonsense that goes on anywhere else here in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
There were 3 officers killed in like a 14-month span in Detroit, including a sergeant. And each and every last one of those suspects were apprehended without a shot being fired.
Okay.
Now, you talking about you taking 3 officers, 3 fathers, 3 brothers, 3 friends out of this world, and they were apprehended. People in the city of Detroit know there's a certain amount they can get away with DPD.
Yeah.
Because Detroit does not operate like Inkster, Farmington, Redford. Nah, you go out there, Grosse Pointe. You go out there and try that, the circumstance is going to be completely different.
That's true.
There is a tremendous amount of oversight with DPD. If someone is touched in a forceful manner, instantly a report has to be done. Use of force. You have to explain why you did what you did. Now, I was watching the story a couple nights ago. Channel 7 did investigation on why certain departments in Michigan don't wear body cameras.
Isn't it mandated?
There was a state legislator that tried to pass a bill, Democratic legislature from up north, but the Republicans blocked it. Now, when you look at the demographics of who voted against it, it's those entities and cities that don't have them. So the richest suburbs in each county, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, voted against them. Those state reps voted against them. Their police departments do not wear. And they are the most, how can I put it, traffic stop predictable that you can come in contact with.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to CPLs, everyone almost has one now. Why wouldn't I want to wear a body camera? Unless there's something I don't want you to see. You can get written up at Detroit if you don't wear your body camera. If it dies, you have to go over the air. Hey, BWC, body worn camera died. They put it in the notes. You go back, you get another.
Well, I really thought that it was mandatory for everybody. Wow. Okay.
And here's the thing. If a city as financially challenged as Detroit can deploy, operate, and pass out cameras each shift every day, 4 shifts actually, why is it that some of your richest suburbs can't do it and they have a minute fraction of the number of officers? It's not that they can't, they don't want to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they don't want to. They don't. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and that includes Wayne County Sheriff deputies. They don't have them. St. Clair Shores doesn't have them. But it's mighty odd they had them prior to that dog getting killed out there a couple years ago.
The dog.
Yeah, remember that incident when their own officer shot the dog? Yeah. So when you encounter those type of places, if you have a CPL, you have to operate differently. Keep the alcohol out the car, because the last thing you want to do is get caught with your firearm and alcohol open in the vehicle. Keep your seatbelt on, drive the speed limit, make sure your brake lights, tail lights work. The best here is avoidance, because you don't know. And here's the thing: 99% of the officers want to come to work, do their job, and go home.
Okay.
Safely, respectfully. Now, that 1% is who we see on CNN. That 1% causes riots, looting, protests. Officer approach you, listen, be kind, be courteous. That individual's doing nothing but their job. Let them do their job. Now, here's the thing. If I don't agree with your demeanor, the reason you stopped me, you wrote me a ticket after the fact, that's what court is for.
True.
But me personally, I'm not finna sit here and argue with you and you law enforcement. Something they taught us in New Orleans: the police have the ability to take your freedom and or your life. So why would my freedom is precious and my life is even more precious? So why should I put myself in a position to force this hand and see what card I'm gonna get today?
I mean, I hear what I do. I hear what you're saying, but you know what? Like for us, it's just really frustrating.
Absolutely.
You know, like you said, the climate now, but shoot, it's been like that since we can remember, since we got here, so it's like I can see why some people get kind of frustrated, especially when they're treated like they're less than, by those cops.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like a catch-22.
And it is. But here's the key to this. It's almost like COVID. Until there's a vaccine for the behavior, we have to protect ourselves from the virus.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, and I'm gonna be honest, I hate going to certain suburbs. I just hate it, because no matter what my record is, what my background is, what I do for a living, what my business is, the minute they see me, I'm the focus. I'm the focus. So if I know that, I have to move a little differently. I'm not saying I'm not going, because I'm free. I'm going anywhere I want to go. But if I have an encounter with you, I have to at least be able to play your game to pull off from this stop, so that I can challenge you in the court of law now. Because if I can challenge you in the court of law and I can prove that what you did was wrong, now it's time for you to get that checkbook out and cut that check.
I just have an issue with, I mean, again, I see what you're saying, but I just really have an issue with, people telling us, and, when I say us, Black folk, like you say, make them feel comfortable. Be respectful. Why, we have the talk, about when we come in contact with the police. And I don't know, it seemed like it shouldn't have to be that way.
No, I know,
but it's almost like a slave thing. Like, yes, sir,
like
no, sir. It's like, why do we have to do that?
And here's why I say that. I'm in no means going to belittle or downgrade my manhood because you got a badge and a uniform on. Because you bleed like I do. You breathe the same air as I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm smart enough to know how the game is played. There are a lot of people dead or in prison off emotions. So I can be hotter than fish grease on a Friday night at a juke joint. But I guarantee you I'm pulling off without a bullet hole in my body. Now, the next morning or that night, I'm mounting my counterattack legally. Since you wanted to play the legal game, now we're going to address it legally. And I don't want to talk to a desk sergeant. I don't want to talk to a shift lieutenant. No, I want to talk to the ACLU and their attorneys. Because, see, some people can only respond to financial pain.
Mm.
Some people only respond to cutting the light on their shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have to sit here arguing with you on the side of the road and being mistreated, it's only going to go so far. But my goal is to leave not like Philando Castile, who did absolutely nothing wrong.
Right.
My goal is not to leave like Eric Gardner, choked out. My goal is not to have a knee on my neck like George Floyd. Yeah, it's fine and dandy. The community can rally. My family can rally. They'll get a settlement like Breonna Taylor's family did. But $12 million can't bring Breonna back.
No. And her killers are still on the loose.
Are still on the loose. They on the loose. They on the job.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. If I'm accosted on the side of the road, we're going to go through this traffic stop. I'm going to act like I got some sense. And then the next day, I'm going to show you how much sense I really have. Because as long as I have breath in my body, you didn't pick the wrong one now.
But you know what? A couple of years ago, I saw this video on YouTube with this black guy. You can tell he was kind of like a preppy black guy. Did everything right. He was not arguing. He was not resisting. Did everything right, and they still hemmed him up. Beat him up. All of that. He did everything right. He did. He there was no he didn't get loud.
No aggression at all.
No aggression. None. Did everything right. Question him why was I pulled over? In a very respectful manner, but he still got roughed up badly.
Now, think back to what you just said. Why is it that we have to almost put ourselves in a slave mentality in order to walk away from that? He did absolutely nothing wrong. He was compliant. He was courteous. He was respectful, and he still got physically roughed up. So had he let his emotions get the best of him, he would not have even walked away. So there was a video. It was a Nigerian guy. This was a couple months. This was right before the quarantine. No, it was during the quarantine. He was somewhere, I forget what city it was. And it was him and 3 other Caucasian dudes. And they were like outside on a patio area. 2 officers came up, harassing him, asking him what his name was. Is your name such and such? He's like, no, leave me alone. I think that's your name. You got ID. You got ID. He said, yeah, but I'm not giving it to you. So I'm looking like, okay, let me see what's going to happen here. Long story short, they ended up grabbing him, forcefully putting his arms behind his back. They handcuffed him, and he told him, dummy, look in my back pocket. My wallet is in there. They opened his wallet. He was an FBI agent. But because he was from Senegal, all they saw was the color of his skin, and that he shouldn't have been in that part of town hanging out. Then they went into apologies. And like he said, no, you think you sorry tonight, but tomorrow you're going to be very sorry and unemployed. Those 2 officers were fired.
Yeah, but they probably got a job somewhere else.
And that may have been the case. That's a whole different bucket. Because when they get washed out of one washing machine, another one picks them up.
Yeah, like the Catholic priests that molest kids. You know,
Absolutely.
they just keep rotating them.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. If you can get fired from Department A for saying something racially insensitive, and Department B 100 miles north, east, west, or south that adapts and relates to that ideology will call you and say, come on over here and work for us.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back to systematic racism. So we don't see the white sheets anymore. We don't see the burning crosses. Well, that's because a lot of the Klan has infiltrated law enforcement.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that FBI statistic. Yeah.
I wrote a paper on it in school. There are secret organizations that know if you work for this particular department or you have this ideology, these are the departments that will hire you, and we all believe in the same thing. So it goes beyond just a traffic stop with a CPL. Yeah, we would, in the real world, we would like to be treated as if we're anybody else, but because these underlying currents exist, that's why you have to play it smart on the traffic stop.
Yeah, Clay had to talk to me like some years ago because I can be kind of a hothead.
Absolutely.
You know, because I'm the type of person like, wow, you know, I'm very emotional. But I remember I got stopped by Huntington Woods police on 11 Mile, and you know, he said I was tailgating, but I don't think I was, but he said I was, and he was like, you know why I pulled you over. And I did have a little attitude. I said, I think I know why. You know, I was like that. D was like, calm down, you know, because you just get so tired of this. And like it was like some years ago, but you know, I mean, I had to learn how to reel it in a little bit.
No, and I can totally. When I moved back here from New Orleans, car, tinted windows, Louisiana plate, I moved to Harrison Township. I'm working so many hours of overtime, there is no set schedule for me. I can work 6:30 to 2:30, go home and sleep, come back, work 11:30 at night to 3:30 the next afternoon. So I'm constantly moving. Wasn't even there 2 weeks. Get pulled over by Macomb County, 5:50 in the morning. That car with the dark windows with a Louisiana plate did not fit in Harrison Township. Pull over. I explained. He told me why he pulled me over, because of the tent. Explained, you know, where I was on my way to, who I work for. Have a good day. Never for the 2 years after that I lived there, speeding or otherwise, did I ever get pulled over by Macomb County Sheriffs again. Because, okay, he belongs out here. Now, does that make it right? Absolutely not. But I could have did one or two things. I could have went through the motions and explained to him, or I'm the same way you are. I used to fly off the handle, or I could act crazy, and this is gonna go left 10 different ways. The key that everybody must remember is, as long as you can leave from the traffic stop whole, a ticket doesn't break your spirit. There's a court system for that. And if you feel like you've been treated unfairly, get that dash cam from Amazon. $30, flip it around.
I like that idea.
You have to. So if I got tired of people cutting me off and No, I'm gonna get a dash cam and it's gonna serve dual purposes. Now, think about this. 10, 15 years ago, technology wasn't on the level that it is now.
Right.
So now we're seeing more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's being beamed to our hands and our purses and pockets and cell phones. So now every time there's an interaction with law enforcement, the first thing people do is pull out a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because of their distrust of law enforcement.
But shoot, you even have to be careful with that, because you pull out a cell phone, they, gonna say it's a gun or something,
And see, that's the point I was gonna make. Now, at what point do we get to a level where we're comfortable enough that we can travel and traverse this country freely? It'll come, but at what cost? Us being free from slavery there was a cost for that.
Yeah.
But I just choose to, especially with a CPL, having a firearm on me, I just choose to take the other road of, let me just do whatever I need to do to make sure I go home and he go home. Because proving a point nowadays may cost you your life.
That's true.
And then it's not necessarily, if you're in one of those places that I stated that don't have body cameras, it's not what happened, it's how they write it up. I had a lieutenant in the academy in New Orleans. He told me this pen is more powerful than this gun. He said, it's not what happens, it's how I write it up. Now, if you know the history of New Orleans, their police department was the poster board for corruption.
Okay.
Their police officers were robbing drug dealers in the 80s and the 90s. So to hear a lieutenant tell me it's not what happened, it's how I write it up, I hear that all the time. So you in St. Clair Shores, they don't have body cameras. You in Troy, they don't have body cam. I don't believe Troy has them. It's not what happened. It's how it was wrote up. Look at it this way, Sandra Bland.
Yeah.
Sandra Bland. She had words and she was defiant on a traffic stop. Okay. And all I can hear is, okay, we're gonna teach you a lesson. To this day, no one has been brought to justice for Sandra Bland.
No. So as a cop, have you been, I know you've been pulled over, but have you had any or close to any issues with another cop?
My main issue that I've ever had with law enforcement, particularly in the city of Detroit, was with a black officer. And 2 years later, me and him end up working together, becoming somewhat cordial to each other. And he actually pulled my sister over last year. And she a lot different than I am. She sweet as pie, but she just don't play certain things. And that's what you're gonna see. It's for the most part, like I stated, the officers, and I can only speak for Detroit. The officers in Detroit don't have a problem pulling over, hitting their lights, helping you change your tire in the snow. They don't have an issue with that. But it's because it starts from the top down. The chief is transparent. He don't play. The deputy chiefs and assistant chiefs, checks and balances, they don't play. The commanders, they don't play. And when I say they don't play, they're not going to tolerate that nonsense that's seen on CNN by officers.
Right.
The lieutenants, the captains and commanders, lieutenants and sergeants, they want you to go out there, be safe, work hard, come home safe, but treat people with respect. Now, you get into the suburbs. Did you see the sign a couple months ago or last month? Someone put up a sign that said, you finna enter Livonia.
Right.
Now, let me give you a history on that. Back in the day, there was a code that officers used to go over the radio and say NIL.
Okay, I can imagine what that meant. Okay.
Something in Livonia.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
that would alert officers where the location was, and you were getting pulled over. Anyone who has come off I-96 westbound or eastbound and traveled south on Middle Belt and went under that viaduct where the Ford plant is, that officer always sits there. There could be a F-150 with a Confederate flag flying next to you, and you're going the speed limit. You're getting pulled over. I'm getting pulled over. I know. I worked at that Ford location for 2 years. Several times I've been pulled over in my parking lot at work,
What?
pulling right past. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's almost to the point to where you have to know your surroundings and know when you know the enemy, you know how to deal with them. So if you're pulling me over and I have a CPL, I'm gonna make sure my license is fine, my registration, my insurance, my CPL license. Before you even get up to the vehicle, I got all of that, and I'm letting you know I have a CPL, I have a firearm on me. Here you go, hands up here, and I'm. How do you want this stop to go?
Right.
Because my pride aside, my pride can be healed, but a hollow point hitting a vital organ, that ain't gonna heal. I'm dead.
Hmm. Well,
And it's sad that in 2020
yeah.
we even have to have this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but truth be told, I would rather have the discussion and educate people than to turn on MSNBC or CNN because I don't do Fox
No.
and
Mm-mm.
see another person of color shot down or killed under the guise of they had a gun. You don't have to have a gun to die in America today. We seen that. We seen the video in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Tquan McDonald shot multiple times in his back, running away. We saw the video in Louisville. I mean, I think it was Charlotte or North Carolina. The brother took off running, and the officer just opened up into his back.
Yeah.
So if I can keep the hollow point from hitting myself, another brother, another sister, my advice would be to them: play the game for the moment. It's like Ice Cube father on Friday. You live to fight another day. And since we're playing legal games with law enforcement, and that's the angle they want to take, well, now we're going to play games with lawsuits.
Yeah. Hit them where it hurts.
That's what you got to do because we'll never win. We don't have the means, the might, or the unity to do what we need to do.
That's true.
So until we get that, it's individual battles in a long-term war.
Before we wrap up, did you see? You probably did, and I want to know your thoughts on it if you saw it. The video that was going around. It was either earlier this week or late last week of the Lyft driver that got pulled over, but the passenger who was black, the police asked for his ID.
No, I did not.
And he said, "Why are you asking me for my ID? I'm not driving." And they got him out of the car and beat him senseless.
No, I did not.
Mm-hmm.
Where was this? Do you remember?
Oh, I forgot where it was. But I did post it. It's on my page. But
Mm.
yes. So it's things like that just it's like, do we even have a chance?
No, and I went to Chicago to visit my son last weekend, and I was determined not to stay in the city because there's too much going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed north of the city, probably about 20, 30 minutes north. Real beautiful, elegant area. you there when you see the Ferrari dealerships and the
Right.
Bloomingdale's and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm driving around at night and I passed a police officer and me and him locked eyes. Instant, and I found, I got my GPS on, and I'm just thinking, okay, you don't know where you at, so why put yourself in this situation? That's different from a guy in a lift. Car gets pulled over, and I'm the only one that you talk to, want to identify, and
Mm-hmm.
remove from the vehicle. Now, what was his demeanor, the lift passenger?
I couldn't see all of it.
You know what I'm saying? Was he having dialogue, asking them why they wanted his info and all of that?
I didn't press all of it because certain videos,
Mm-hmm.
because because actually D Nice posted it on Instagram,
Okay.
and it has a trigger warning. So I was like, I just posted. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I read some of it,
Yeah.
and then I looked at it like the tail end of it where they was picking up his body, because they had to pick him up because he was just out of it. It almost looked like he was dead. That's how out of it he was. And so like certain I can't watch anymore. But
here's the bigger question: when is enough for them?
That's the $1,000,000 question.
That should be the if I know what I'm doing is wrong. At what point, when it starts to escalate, do I click in my head and say, "Nope, I ain't gonna be the next one on TV"?
They don't even care anymore because
that's my mind.
Because of current leadership, they don't care.
That's it. That's my point. It starts at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who's upset, fed up, trigger conscious about what's going on in the videos, that should be a call to action to make sure on election day everyone is voting.
Yes.
We can't say we're tired and we're fed up.
And we can't complain if you don't vote.
Let me tell you something. February, I believe it was. Shane Park opened up early ticket release. Okay, it was cold as ever at Shane Park this particular day.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 people working, and the line was from the Shane Park box office down to the side entrance of Shane Park. Folks stood in line, and they were doing some type of promotion if you came down there in person versus online.
Okay.
Folks stood in line for at least, I know I stood in line for 40 minutes in the cold, shivering. People rotating in and out of cars to keep warm. If we'll stand in line to get some tickets to see Jeezy, why we won't stand in line to go vote?
That's right.
If we'll stand in line for Jordans,
mm-hmm.
or Bath and Body Works release, or
Bath and Body Works chicken sandwich,
or a dang on chicken sandwich, why won't we stand in line to
vote?
Affect change? Now that goes just like we have systemic racism, we also have systemic ignorance.
Yeah.
Because we can't expect things to change because we hold up some signs, marches saying we shall overcome. Go vote.
Yes.
A lot of us ain't working no way. Ain't got nothing to do. Kids at home, homeschool.
Shoot. And then go ahead and go be I'm not we getting off, but be a poll worker.
So you can monitor.
So you can monitor, and if you're not working, you can get paid for that whole day. And because they are in need of poll workers. So,
and if you're a poll worker, you vote prior to the day anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna 1276 Media. We're actually shooting a voting PSA. I'm getting with the mayor of my city.
Okay.
And we're doing that because I'm gonna do everything in my power, everything that I can, every platform that I have to make sure people get out and vote early. That's what I'm stressing, early voting. But
Absolutely.
but yeah, so that's
And don't,
very
and don't,
important.
folks need not get distracted with this absentee ballot or mail-in ballots. Let me tell you what they're really doing. They want folks to push the envelope and push back and say, I'm voting by mail. I'm going to the physical brick and mortar location because if we already know there's an issue with the ballots being transferred from A to B, why would we put our faith in that system?
Right. See, that's what I'm going to promote. I am promoting absentee, but not the mail-in part.
Absolutely.
Where you go down to your city clerk, you fill out your ballot, and you place it in a secure box.
Absolutely.
I did that for the primaries.
Early voting.
Yeah, that's what we're stressing.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And those who know someone is at home, oh, I don't have a car, my car is down, things happen, go pick them up.
Yes.
You would pick them up for a cabaret.
Yeah.
Go pick them up and take them to vote. I don't care where they got to go.
Yeah, we definitely have to vote.
We can't affect change if we do the same. That's not going to happen.
That's right.
Stand in line for something. I remember when the quarantine was over and they started opening beauty supply stores. Those lines outside the beauty supply stores, stand in line for something other than a cosmetic change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you had kids, if you care, get your tail up and go vote.
That's right. Go vote.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tquan.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. This was very educational. Letting us know how to interact with the police when we're stopped by the cops. And those are some good tips because, like you said, the main goal is to get through that traffic stop and make it out alive, basically.
Absolutely.
So if that means we gotta, make them feel a little bit more comfortable, and then so be it. That's what we have to do, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much. And also, guys, if you remember, or if you have not listened to that episode with Tquan about getting a CPL, he is an instructor. He's an NRA certified instructor. So he knows his stuff. You want a CPL instructor who knows their stuff, because some out here will have you in jail. Okay, just flat out. Quick. So he is a great instructor. So can you just quickly give out your contact info?
My contact info: Parks Defensive Strategies, area code 586-804-6431. Can also be reached on Facebook at Parks Defensive Strategies, as well as my email address, PDS, that's Paul David Sam, PDS, CPL, Charles Paul Larry, at yahoo.com.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And our next episode, I'm actually having someone from Big Gretch's office, a representative, to talk about the future frontliners free college tuition program. So she's going to be on, not Big Gretch going to be on the show, but somebody from her camp is going to be on the show next week for Michiganders, those who are essential workers. You can find out how you can go to school for free. Okay. So thank you so much for listening and watching and tuning in, and we will see you again next week. Tquan, don't click out. Okay. So
all right,
everyone. See you next week. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Picking it with Kay and Clay. Picking it with Kay and Clay. Picking it with Kay and Clay.